Well, the Indian voter has spoken, and for the first time in 30 years, the message is loud and clear. Narendra Modi will be India's first Prime Minister outside the Nehru-Gandhi family to lead the nation with a simple majority. Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us on our special coverage of India Business Hour on this historic day for India. I'm Shireen Bhan. A centre-right government is in power with a strong mandate. What does this mean for India and for the Indian economy? Does a stable government mean faster growth? To discuss all that and more, we're now joined by a star panel of experts. Chanda Kochhar of ICICI Bank, former RBI Governor and Director with Brookings India, Subir Gokarn, Pavan Munjal of Hero Motor Corp, Ashok Vadava of Ambit Holdings, Ajay Sriram, President of CII, and in a bit we'll be joined by Geeta Gopinath from Harvard University, Sanjay Thakkar of KPMG from London, and Jagdish Bhagwati of Columbia University from New York. Appreciate all of you joining us here. Subir Gokarn, let me start by asking you, what happens now as far as the rupee, as far as interest rates are concerned? The twin deficits at this point in time under control, maybe not so much the fiscal deficit because one can quibble about window dressing, but on the key issues of managing the rupee, managing inflation and the current account deficit, what do you expect?
Well, I think you gave me an undue promotion, so you need to change that. You referred to me as former governor.
Sorry, my mistake. Former deputy governor of the RBI.
To get undue credit. But talking about the macro situation, I think we've got some relief on the current account deficit as a result of things that the government did last year. But this is temporary relief. This is not structural change. The two big pressure points on the current account are gold. Well, gold is what helped to ease it. So we might get back into a gold import binge later. But coal and iron ore are the two big new pressure points that emerged over the last couple of years, and we haven't done anything to solve. We have a little bit of movement on iron ore, and I think that's very promising. But we need to get back to a situation where we're exporting at peak 6 billion plus. We're not doing that. We're nowhere close to it now. And coal, we are importing 8-9 billion, perhaps more, which is what we should be digging out of our own reserves. So I think unless we address the mineral stress, we're not going to get an enduring solution to the current account. It's great that it is now within control, but I think we need structural solutions to this. We can't let ourselves be vulnerable to it going way above 3% of GDP. I think that's something we need to manage.
I'll talk to you about the rupee and about the fiscal deficit and interest rates in just a bit. But let me go across to Chanda Kochhar. Chanda Kochhar, what does this decisive mandate now mean for the economy? All kinds of wish lists have already started pouring in from corporate India. But what does this mean now for economic growth, for revival, for credit offtake?
Well, I think given the fact that it's really a clear mandate, the first impact it could have is bring back a whole lot of decision making in the environment, which means that approvals could come in for stuck projects, their linkages to raw materials, etc. could come in. So all that decision making could actually release a lot of productivity in the system, and that could bring back growth. The second is that, clarity around taxation, tax regime, retrospective versus prospective tax changes, etc., could actually bring back a lot of confidence amongst the global investors. The third, of course, is that a lot of long-term policy measures need to be put in place, whether it's to do with easing supply constraints, to ease inflation, create employment, but those are longer term. But I think in the immediate term, quick decision-making, clarity around tax regimes, I think this is what should bring back confidence.
I just want to prod you on the immediate bucket, Chanda, because we do know what they need to do in terms of the long-term structural problems that India faces, but just on the immediate bucket, the top 3 items that you would like them to focus on to fuel growth.
So really to give approvals to all those projects and investments that are stuck. Because lakhs of crores of money is invested in projects that are stuck. There's more than 20,000 megawatts of power capacity that is implemented but not producing. So take project by project, give clearances with a lot of coordination between the center and the state governments to make sure that these projects start producing. That's the first thing that can bring back growth. The second is also bring decision making within the bureaucracy and clear a lot of those pending payments, etc., that are pending from the government entities to the private sector. The third is actually to kickstart the implementation of GST again, which can bring in a lot of vibrancy in the domestic economy. And the fourth is really give clarity around tax regimes. I think some of these things can just bring a lot of cash flow, momentum, confidence and capital flows into the country.
I'll come back to you, Chanda, on the tax clarity that is required, which has been part of everybody's manifesto, and how the government can perhaps address that. But Ashok Wadhwa, over to you now in Washington. The mandate has been much more decisive than what was expected. The polls had directionally given the NDA victory, but this kind of comprehensive win was perhaps not anticipated. How do you see the markets reacting from here on? We've seen the knee-jerk reaction. We've seen the run-up rally that has taken the markets to 25,000, in fact crossing 25,000 today at new record highs. Now what you see as far as the market reaction is concerned?
Well, I guess there is euphoria for present. The euphoria is not just because BJP or Mr. Modi is coming to power, but I think the euphoria is as much on the fact that the Indian public for the first time in many years has chosen to give a single party a significant majority. So BJP on its own can form the government, and of course with its pre-poll allies, it's likely to now be in the 325 to 335 range. That effectively means that, Mr. Modi and BJP can take decisive actions related to the development of Indian economy and addressing several of the issues that have been bottlenecks, both for encouraging Indian business and Indian manufacturing, as well as for supporting greater amount of foreign direct investment which wishes to come to India.
Okay, so FDI and the possibility of that making its way into India. But let me ask you, Ashok, given how we've already seen a significant rally and now we've got this comprehensive mandate, the next big economic trigger, of course, credit policy on the second, and then the budget, how much more room do you see for an upside for the markets ahead of the budget?
I think there are going to be several events between now and the announcement of the budget. The first one, of course, is the formation of the cabinet itself. The constituency or the constitution of that cabinet will play an important role on how the market looks at policy making, decision making, who the candidates are, and obviously that will have some effect, hopefully positive, on the market from here onwards. And then, of course, the planning for the budget and the budget itself. Given that the government will have a relatively short period before announcing the budget 2014, I don't expect a big bang reform coming through there. But again, just the messaging in terms of wanting to address the critical issues, make sure that all these tax issues that have been hanging fire for such a long time. I'm here in New York and I met a few investors, and everybody has to say some horror story about India's tax management, and I think those issues need to get addressed, and they can get addressed in the short period to the budget. Clarity on foreign direct investment, some early signals of how Mr. Modi plans to support manufacturing, and of course addressing of the infrastructure, particularly the power related issues. So that messaging is going to be critical, and depending on what the budget contains by way of that messaging, you could see a more consistent performance by the market from here to the next year.